Now, if you're just a little bit behind, the good news is we're just going to put in some light blue to start with, and it is being recorded, so, you know, you can go back tonight and get caught up if you had to. So, first things first, let's get our blue wet and mix a little bit up in the upper tray. We're not going to need a ton of blue for this, about that much, and then just water it down because we need it to be really light. So I'm adding lots and lots and lots of water. Up there it probably looks, I can see it looks a little darker than what it is in real life, but it needs quite a bit. I'm going to look at my test paper and see how light we are, and that's still too dark, so I'm going to add a little bit more water to it. Now I'll test it and see if I got it any lighter. And still can use a little bit more. We're getting there though. Okay, one more test. Now I got it about as light as I want it. You'll notice that this is quite a bit lighter than that first test up there. So. Still blue, but quite a bit lighter. So I'll wait for you guys to get your paint up there and then we'll get moving on this. Now some of this will be a little different than what we've done before because I know I'm going to go darker in some areas and I'm starting with my lightest value first. There's some places I can paint over and paint through things, like I'll probably paint right through that tree trunk because later I'm going to make it brown and it will cancel out any light blue that I paint through it. So this is what I'm doing. I'll zoom in on this so you can see exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to get a little bit of water to start with, and I'm going to go just underneath this line that runs right here. So I'm going to just take a little bit of water. I'm going to go right through that tree trunk, take that and bring it right on down to the edge of the paper. This is just water right now. Just a hair more water so it'll fade down. Then I'll get my light blue. I'm going to go right here, right at the top of it, and right through my tree. Rinse my brush out really good, and then just fade it down into that water. So I want to just go from light blue to super light blue. And we got a line that goes below the tree right here. And that one I'm going to do the same way. I'm going to start with a little clean water, go right below where I just painted, but I'm going to leave a little space right here. I'm not going to put any paint right there because I don't want this blending in with the stuff above it. So I'm going to leave a little space of dry paper, And I'm going to take this water and I'll just pull it down the page a little bit. Now remember, your watercolor is not going to go anywhere that you don't have water. So I'm just putting the water down below. I'm leaving a little edge of white at the top of dry paper, then coming in with my blue paint right along here, leaving that little edge to separate the bump here from the one above it. That'll probably be the most technical thing on this side. I'm just taking a little water and fading it out down to the next one. Okay, so it's a real subtle little white line going in between. And I don't like the way this just drops off right here. So even though I don't have a little hill drawn here, I'm going to just do it with my paint. I can just add it after the fact. I'm just going to come in here with a little water and curve it right down in here behind. Bring just a little water down. It's a little too much water, so I'm going to take some of it off. You'll just have to see this, but you're just going to have to freehand this part, and it's not super difficult or technical. We're just putting a slight little bump right there. Bring it down to this one that we did first, and just fade it out as it comes down. That looks a little better than just a hard drop off there. Now, probably the hardest thing with the snow is keeping it a light enough blue. It's really easy to go too dark. Does anybody need more time with those hills that we just did? Raise your hand if you do, because I don't want to get too far ahead. Okay, if I don't see any hands, I'm assuming ready to move on. Okay, we're not going to do this big one that goes underneath his feet next. We're going to go down to this one right here. It's at the bottom of our page. We're going to paint, and we're going to bring it all the way out to the edge. So let me just get some clear water on that one first. Go all the way out to the edge, just kind of following my curve around. Going right to the top edge where that line is, and just bringing water down below it. Mixing up my paint. So it just makes a nice little snow bump right there. If you're a skier, it's a nice little mogul. Now I'll do this big long one that goes under his feet. This is just going to be a repetition kind of, because we're going to start with water, go right to the line. I'm going to go all the way over to the other side. You need quite a bit of water because it's a fairly big area you got to cover on this one. One side to the other. I'll fade it down a little bit. I just don't want to bring water down into my lines below. Get my blue. Go across, keep a nice straight edge on my upper part of the line. Come from this side. And just fade it down into the water beneath it. And the only place we want a hard edge is on the upper edge of our little hilt, not on the lower edge. Now I'll just fade that off to the edge of the paper now. Lift this up a little bit so you can see how that went all the way across. Now, as I'm looking at this, there's some places I'm going to go darker here in a minute, but for now we're just getting in the initial color laid in, so I don't need to worry about going just darker just yet. Move over here. We got this big long one right here. We'll do that one next, just with the water. Kind of take the water down to the bottom of the paper. There's not going to be anything down here, so we can just fade it all the way down. Blue. So I'm going to let this and this dry a little bit before we do that little one in the center at the bottom, because I don't want this bleeding into that. So I'm just going to let that part dry, and I'll move up here and do this hill and this hill and this hill while this is drying down here. So I'll just come right up here and do this one next. Again, just start with water, take it right off the edge of the page. There'll be a lot of repetition in what we're doing as we're getting in the lightest colors first. Got that little hill below that tree done. The next one will be this one. I'm not going to paint through the tree on this though, because we're going to have some white in here and I don't want to paint through it. So it'll be a little trickier through here, 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 and here. It's going to be a little trickier. Take this next little spot that we're going to do, and that'll be right here, this tree, and I'm just going to go along this line. And I can take this right through that tree bough right there, because that's going to be dark green at the bottom, so it won't matter. But I'm going to be careful not to get it in this tree. And I'm going to skip over to the other side of the tree and do that little teeny tiny place right at the edge of the paper. It's right here. Again, being careful not to get it in the tree. So it should appear that it comes down, goes behind the tree, and then comes back out the other side. And we got one last little place to do as far, well, two. I forgot about this one. We'll get this one down at the bottom in a minute. We'll get this little place right here with a little bit of water, a little bit of blue, kind of a micro tiny place to go. Be very careful with where your water goes, because you don't want it getting inside the tree there. Just letting that fade out. And then I got that little teeny tiny spot right here too. And really careful to keep it out of the tree. And now you can see it without the glare. As far as what we're doing right now, this is pretty standard what we've done from the beginning of the year. The newer techniques we'll probably hit on Wednesday. Probably get into those in. Right now we're just setting stuff up. Okay, we have that little hill that we left alone down here at the bottom. I'll go ahead and do that one real quick right now. Now that the stuff around it's dry, we should be all right. Just take a little bit of water. I'm going to make it just a hair darker on that top edge. So I do want it to stand out from the others around it. There's one last place I want to put a little more blue. I'm going to turn my painting upside down. Right here, this is kind of an undercut that goes between the tree and this trunk right here. So I'm going to go just a little bit darker on this line right here. Fade it over a little bit. I'm painting that more like it's just a shadow area. So when I turn it back up, right side up, it looks a little bit darker at the base of the tree there. It's bugging me looking at this. It's a little too light here, so I'm going to darken this a little bit. Now yours might be dark enough. If you're darker than me here, don't do what I'm about to do. If it's super, super light through here, I'm going to just make this one just a little darker, and I might make that one just a little darker too. Just a little too, it dried a little lighter than I wanted it to. And that's the tricky part with watercolor, is it doesn't dry the same as what you put it on. It always dries a value or two lighter than what you first painted. So sometimes it's a guessing game. That's a little better. I can see it a little bit better. I'm going to do the same thing right here. This is a little light on this end. And this one down here is just a little light. see those hills just a little bit better. I don't know what your guys' paint situation looks like in the top of your tray. I'm about out. I gotta mix up some more. So I'm gonna just take and mix up a little bit more blue. I don't need a ton. The blue I'm going to use now will be slightly lighter than or slightly darker than the blue I've been doing before. And this is going to be used for the beard and mustache. So I'm going to go underneath his mustache first with just the very tip of my brush. So it's like a shadow underneath it. And before it dries, I'm going to come down here and put some strokes going down the same direction as the beard. Come around this way, doing the same thing. These are just some light strokes, long strokes, go in the same direction that the beard is growing. I don't know how well that's going to translate on the video, but I'll hold it up a little closer so you can see. They're very, very light. And I paint and then I lift up at the end so I get a little point on the end. Then I'm going to come down to the bottom of his beard. And I'm going to do the opposite way. I'm going to start right here and lift him up as I move up away from the bottom. Those are going to be just slightly darker, and I am going to come back in under his mustache and put just a little bit darker in there too in that shadow. It's just a little too light. Oh, didn't know it wasn't on the screen. Now, if you feel like you got it too dark, you can always get like a paper towel and just press it down on it, or get it slightly damp and press it down and pick straight up, and it will lighten it a little bit. So if you feel like, oh wow, I got that way too dark, that's one way you can lighten it up. I'm okay with this. I'm not too worried about it. It looks about like I want it. I'm going to work on the mustache a little bit. I'm going to go around the outer edge right here, keeping just with the fine tip of my brush. Let's bring it right over his nose, actually. And I'm going to put a little bit of a shadow under his nose, going this way and then this way. And then I'll bring these out further. I'm just barely using the tip of my brush for this. Those little lines I put on first were just to get the direction of the hair growing. And bring up some from the bottom. Got to make sure you leave plenty of white on there, though. If you fill it all in, he's just going to have a bluebeard mustache, and there'll be no white at all. Like I say, we're just kind of learning on this one, so it's okay if some of that happens. Okay, we just got a few places left to use a little blue, and then we'll clean up. This light blue anyway. Okay, right along his little cuff right here, go down the left side and then across the bottom. Left side, across the bottom. Rinse your brush out really good so all you have is a little bit of water. And just fade it out a little bit. I got a little much too much water on there, so I'm just going to pick it up. Get a little bit of my water off. Then I'm going to go along the bottom edge of his trim right here on his hat. I'm barely going to put a little bit on there. And then I'm going to come along this trim at the bottom. This will be a little bit darker. I'm going to go along the left edge. Bring it over to where his boot is. Bring it there. And around here. I can actually technically just paint right through that boot and go across, because I'm going to make that boot darker later. And I'm going to just get a little water and fade this up towards the top. And just fade it out. And that boot I can lighten it up a little bit because I know I'm going to cover it anyway. So I got that light blue trim at the bottom. Now, I might freak you out to paint through the boot a little bit, but don't worry about it because, like I say, we are going to go darker with the color of the boot. And that will fix it in the end. And that's as far as we're going to go today.